1 second. Instagram is live. Hello, everyone. And the Facebook is live as well. Great. So excited about
Hi,
this.
me too. Finally, we can make it happen.
Let's mute the laptops now, Karel.
Yes.
Okay, so we don't have an echo situation. Let us know, guys, if you can hear us. Karel is one of my favorite teacher dancers worldwide. I love studying with her. I miss you so much these 3 years. How has it been for you? Tell us about your pandemic dance life, and I have a couple of questions listed here already, specific kind of questions. You're a great person to talk to. I'm really curious about your reflections and how are you? Mhm. Oh my God. Mhm. 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 Karel, let me just interrupt 1 second because I don't hear you on Facebook. When I said mute, you need to mute the device, like the laptop itself, but
Yes.
not in the program.
Okay,
So
can you hear me?
I can hear you here on the phone, but I don't know if people are hearing you on. Let me.
Facebook?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Let me just let's see. You guys need to let us know because they just commented that they're not hearing you.
Okay.
Um, okay, let's try and continue. Yes,
Technology.
now, yes, now it's
Okay,
working.
can you hear
Okay,
me? Okay, good. I don't
yeah,
know.
back
I
to
didn't do
your.
anything.
No, 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 that wasn't you. It's always
Okay.
it's a bit,
Technology.
it's like a show, but a couple of things are really like it's not just your body to control, but this stuff it freaks me out a little bit every time.
Listen, it freaks me out every time we do online classes, and like no matter
Yeah.
what, no matter how much we prepare, we have so much, we've spent thousands of dollars in equipment. And
Mm-hmm.
still, when we get to the class, something doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like we make it work, but like there's never like a smooth sailing, right? Where it's like everything
Yeah.
works.
That
Never.
always stresses me. These interviews stress me almost like a performance, and
Yes.
sometimes someone on the other side doesn't have a Wi-Fi or I don't know something, and yeah.
I know. I
Anyway,
know.
we're here.
So yeah, so I was saying like the only reason why I mentioned like even the financial thing is because I think that something that I learned through the pandemic, it's like you when you have to, you're gonna make it work, right? So
Mhm.
chill first, think things through, and I know like if you've built something throughout your career with good values, with effort, with hard work, people are gonna react to that. So I think that's one of the main things that I've taken. Like, don't let your work close. Stick to your values. Be a hard worker because people will be there. I appreciate my students so much more now, And like every time I see somebody and it's like, oh my God, I took your online course, your online classes, I genuinely feel so much love and appreciation because these people saved us, right? These
Mhm.
people, like, their $20 a month, like
Mhm.
made me pay my rent. So,
Mhm.
it was a really big eye opener. I always appreciated my students, but for me now, they're like, it's on a totally different level.
So what's your plan now that you've had the experience? You said, you had to reduce the traveling. You did because the situation forced you. What's your plan now after you recovered for the
So
future?
I'm definitely traveling less.
Hmm.
I realized that I wasn't happy traveling as much, right? Simply because of the physical exhaustion, right? When you're physically
Hmm.
exhausted, like, you don't perform as well, not only on the stage, like in your regular life, right? You're
Hmm.
dragging yourself, you're tired, you're jet lagged. And I want to, it's not so much that I want to be home, I do, but it's just like I want to give the best of me. And I know that traveling 4 times a week doesn't allow me to take care of my health as much, take care of my mental health, to read, to eat healthy, so I'm reducing the traveling a lot. I'm traveling twice a month tops, 3 times sometimes, when like an event is like, you've been working with us for a long time, please come, like they've convinced me. I'm traveling 2022 and 2023 more than I wanted to, but some events are important, some events I've been working with for a long time, some places I want to go to, so that happens, but definitely only twice a month, ideally now.
Hmm. You mentioned something very important as you were talking. You mentioned aging, and it's a very a subject in dance that we always avoid because the energy is young. It's all power, it's all
Right.
energy. But I'm a couple of years older than you, and I walked off stage many
Right.
years ago, and I also feel the changes in me. But it's not a popular subject. No, people don't want to hear it. Everybody's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you look great, you look amazing. Come on, don't mention it," right? So, so how do you feel that you're changing for
Listen,
for good,
first
for
of
worse, for yeah?
I'm sorry. First of all, I want to say, like, the reason why it's such a touchy subject, it's still because of the patriarchy. Like, it's still
Yes,
because there's so much
exactly.
pressure on
Yeah.
women to always look amazing. And there's a lot of ageism, even with men and women and everybody, right? And I
Mm.
think, like, it's interesting because you evolve as a human, and you're changing, and you become way more aware of a lot of issues that maybe you
Mm.
weren't aware of before. And I sense the ageism. Like, even now when I tell people, like, oh, I'm 37, right? They don't mean it, but they're like, oh my God, you're
How come?
37? Wow, you look amazing, right? Like I'm 85, which I
Yeah,
know it comes from a good place. Don't get me wrong. Like, I
yeah, yeah.
appreciate it. I take it as a compliment and I'm like, yay, right? But I think that we have this concept that aging is necessarily a bad thing, or like, like, I'm gonna get wrinkles. Guys, my neck is looking a little saggy. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like, if you take care of yourself, of course I feel the difference, right? I feel the difference in two things. One, in my recovery. For sure, I don't recover. Like, I can't stay till 5 in the morning dancing and then go teach a workshop at 9 in the morning and do it every weekend and travel. Like, of course I feel it a lot more. But honestly, like, I've done some like changes in my health and I feel almost the same. Like, I
Mhm.
had some neck issues and I went to a new PT, which is amazing. I'll recommend it. I'll put her here because honestly, she changed my life. And I asked her, my first question was, am I getting all these injuries because I'm older? And she said, no, you're getting all these injuries because you have imbalances in your body, because of the way you dance, because of your lifestyle,
Mm.
because of the plane. Work on this, strengthen this, and you'll be fine. And honestly, I did. And I haven't been injured in a long time because, I have somebody who helps me out. So, yes, before when I was 20, maybe I didn't need my PT to give me specific exercises. Now I need a PT and maybe some Botox. But, other than that, I'm fine. I feel great.
Yeah, I think I also experienced this. I'm going to turn 40 this October. And, I started to have these thoughts when I got to 38. Before, I was really brave about expressing my age, at
Right,
36, 37,
right,
So,
right,
and then
right.
when I got to 38, I was like, oh my God, the next one is going to be just before 40. What does this mean
Yes.
to me? So it's gotten a little scary, but I kind of found a new position in life. I had to do some mental work,
Yes.
and there's a thing that helps me. Like we don't have influence over time.
Right.
Everyone ages, the
Right.
20-year-old person, the 50-year-old person, the 90-year-old person, the 10-year-old person, everyone. The only thing you can influence is how you live, how you're going to age, what you're going to do. And that kind of gave me more power. But it's true that in the society, everyone believes that it's better to be young than to be old.
Yes.
So whenever I hear like, you don't look your age,
Right.
I'm like, but I am my age,
Yes.
I've had the experience. How am I going to talk about my life if I cannot say how old I am? I've been doing this for 15 years, this for 20, this for 25.
Exactly.
So now when I want to say something nice to a woman, I say, you look amazing. I don't
Right.
say you don't look your age.
Right.
Just
Right.
that I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
because I mean, those are microaggressions, right? Just like
Yeah.
we have microaggressions with racism, with sexism. Those are
Yeah.
microaggressions, and actually, we are the first ones to invite it. You're like, oh, thank you. I'm 37. I don't look my
Yeah.
age, right? It shouldn't be a compliment not looking your age. It's
Mhm.
rooted on the idea of like, especially for women, right? Where it's like, if you don't look like, we have a lot of male dancers that look older, nobody mentions it. Nobody says like, oh my god, he's aged, right? You have a female dancer who's aging, or even actresses, let's go to acting, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh my god, he looks so hot with his gray hair. And then
Yeah.
you see a woman aging and it's like, oh my gosh, she needs to do something or retire because she's
Exactly.
old,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
aging,
Yeah.
right? So
Hide
the
hide
change,
the age.
yeah, the change starts with us, right? Embracing that age. And of course, like, I take care of my health more because I'm more mature, because I know the importance of taking care of my health. And of course, that has an impact on my aging process, but it has nothing to do with not embracing like my 37. I love my 37. I'm so happy I'm in this place. I've grown so much. I've changed so much. And the 20-year-old Carol, it was awesome, but I wouldn't change being here and everything that I've learned for the energy of 20s. I'll just drink more water.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it comes from the conviction from the past, that a woman was valuable when she was young and fertile
Of
and
course.
ready to remarry,
Of
right?
course.
And then being young was the thing that gave us survival in the social life. But we're not there anymore, so we're making a change.
Yes.
Karel, you said you're a problem solver,
Yes.
right? That this personality of yours, I think it's a very important trait for all successful business people. I'm also like this, if I may say so, that there's a problem, always look for solution. Before I cry, before I collapse, first
Yes.
first solution.
Then I'll cry, but I'll
Yeah.
be like, let's make it work. What do we have to do?
Exactly. So we have here Fatima commenting, great conversation, helps me a lot.
Thank
That's
you.
great to
Hi.
hear.
I saw somebody like, hi from Argentina. Hola.
Yeah,
Besos
from
Argentina.
DC. I miss dancing with Karel. Herbert says yes. Thank you guys for
Let's make it
chipping in.
work. Let's make it happen. I'll be in DC in September, so let's go.
So, what other problem did you think you solved successfully? Something you can share with the community?
Anya,
Okay, give
my
me.
life has been filled with problems. I mean, I think the main problem that I've solved was my health.
Mhm.
I had really, really bad health issues starting in 2019. So basically, November of 2018, I was in Korea and I fell down walking in
Mhm.
the street. Don't look at your phone and walk, friends. It could be very bad, like I did. And I was walking and I fell and I tore my posterior cruciate ligament in my right knee. And that forced me to be in bed and at home for 3 months, right?
Mhm.
So after that, like let's say that was November. In January, I would eat something and I would get hives all over my body,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I was like, what's happening? So that's when the problem solver started. I was like, okay, let me do some allergy testing. Allergies, everything is fine. I did a lot of blood work. You have nothing. There's nothing wrong with you, right? So then I was like, okay, let me do an elimination diet, because I would like listen to podcasts, read books, watch YouTube
Mhm.
videos to be like, what's wrong with me? Like hashtag hives on Instagram just to see what was happening. And then I started discovering it was gluten, right? So it started with that. So gluten would give me an allergic reaction out of nowhere. I never had this situation out of nowhere.
Mhm.
And it would give me hives. So I stopped eating gluten, which also was like, oh, you can absorb gluten through the skin. Some sources said they don't. So I had to change all my makeup. I can't have like lipstick that contains gluten, or like, like if my shampoo and then I eat it, like it was this huge thing, right? And
Mhm.
then after that, I started having systemic inflammation. So I would wake up with like my fingers like inflamed, and then out of nowhere, I would like have injuries. right? Like one time I couldn't walk because my inner thigh was super inflamed. I went to get MRIs. Everybody was like, there's nothing, it's just inflammation. So I went to so many doctors. Everybody was like, you're fine. It might be in your head. You might be going crazy. Nobody would give me a solution. And I kept insisting. I was like, I'm going to read everything that I have to read. I'm going to listen to every single podcast until I stumbled with one that said, hey, mold exposure can cause this symptoms and this symptoms and this symptoms. And they were like, if you suspect that you might have mold, don't contact your landlord, contact an inspector right away. So I remembered my boyfriend once cleaning the AC and it was black, right? But we didn't really pay attention to it. And I was like, let me check the other AC. I went, I saw the mold. I cleaned it myself without a mask, without anything. Don't ever do that. If you have mold, don't clean it yourself. And after that, I was like a zombie for 3 days. Like my brain function was like gone. I was like this. I didn't have energy. And I was like, this is definitely it. I called an inspector. He came into my house and he told me, if you don't leave your house, you're going to be dead in 6 months.
Oh my God.
He was like, with all the symptoms that you're having, the amount of mold that there is in this apartment, you're going to be dead in 6 months if you don't leave. So I left in the middle of the pandemic. This was October 2020. We had to lose everything. Everything we had to leave behind. All of my clothes, my furniture, everything except things that were non-porous, like our plates. We came back here with like plates and like utensils. And, it was tough. You had to start over from zero in the middle of a pandemic. But I solved my health issues. I solved the mystery. Then I started seeing doctors that specialize in that, listening, like I said, to 1,000 more podcasts. And now I feel amazing. I'm not 100% on the other side, but I feel amazing. So you see, a lot of people tell me like, oh, I get this injury and I got that injury and I got whatever. And I'm like, look for the underlying cause. At some point in my career, I don't know if you remember, I got so much acne out of the blue. I had really bad acne. And I was like, my body's trying to tell me something. And then I went and investigated and I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, right? So it's like, it's never just the symptoms. It's your body's trying to tell you something. So for me, every time something is wrong with my health, I'm like, let's figure it out. And if not, I would have been dead. I've been dead, or really, really. Yeah, there's 100,000 cases of mold-related deaths in the U.S. that go undiagnosed every single year.
I think this is an American thing because it happens in the movies sometimes. It's a part of the movie, the mold situation, renovation. Like I don't really hear this in Poland, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You guys might have better like
maybe different installations.
Yeah, I mean, mold grows everywhere. That's just part of nature. So, or maybe it's just not as known.
Maybe.
Well,
I clean my AC regularly by professionals. I mean, like I get it cleaned.
Because I know like Rodrigo and Asia, they had mold and they were having a lot of health issues and they contacted me and I'm like, I'm sure you have health issues because of mold. So that was in Spain. So.
Okay, guys, we gotta check this out too.
Check the mold. Check the mold. Believe me, check it.
Okay, so your health was a problem number one. You're saying you're feeling better.
Yes.
And that affects the rhythm. So can you tell me, maybe I just the things come as we speak, how you have changed as an instructor? You mentioned the Karel of the 20-year-old Karel, and now how have you changed as a teacher?
I mean, I think on the top of my head, the main thing that comes to me is before I would teach dance, right? And I would understand, my responsibility to translate kind of like what was in my body to my students as dancers. But we can't deny the human aspect of, being an instructor and being a student, right? That a lot of the things that you say, your students trust you. They listen to you, right? You can shape people through dance, right? So to me, it's not just teaching dancing and movement now. To me, it's more like, okay, I don't take the responsibility lightly that maybe what I say can inspire somebody, can move somebody, can change their minds for a more positive way. So to me, my instruction, as much as my dancing as well, has moved into more of it has a purpose rather than just I'm teaching you how to do Suzy Q.
I remember when I was taking a boot camps, it was all about doing the hard stuff, do it when you feel you cannot do it, and
Right.
do it kind of, overcome your own helplessness or frustration. I remember that. How is it now, 3 years later? What's new with Kara?
I mean, look, I'm not doing boot camps at all.
Yeah.
I decided to take a break from like performance
Hmm.
boot camps. I
Yes, because
decided
you're
to take
going to
a,
teach
yeah,
an intensive extra workshops at ELSOL, but it will not be a performance one, just a technical
yes.
small group. Hmm.
Two reasons why I decided to stop doing performance boot camps. One was because I was a little tired, honestly. Like I did them for
Hmm.
so long, and it's 10 hours, and I'm really intense, and I refuse to do it easy because I think that I don't know, like the way I think about it is, I want to push my students, I want to push people. So I was a little bit tired, but also because of that, right? I feel like nowadays, I mean, there's always trends in the salsa world. Like that's always been. We had the trend of Frankie Martinez with the white shoes. We had the trend of like you have all these trends. They come
Yeah.
and go. But I feel like right now especially with the pandemic, we're going into this trend, or we've been going to this trend where everything is just like fun and like this and that. And I get it. It should be fun, right? Like dancing should be fun, but it depends on where you want to take it, how much you want to take it. I don't feel like if you go to the dance floor and you feel like you're falling because you have no technique or you're hurting your body, you're necessarily having the best or the most fun, right? I think that there has to be a technical aspect to doing things, and we're not teaching those enough because we
Mhm.
shy away from teaching technique because people want to have fun, right? So for me, I know that we need a lot of technique. We need to talk about how to push the floor, how to change the weight, like all these things that are so basic, right? That we should be knowing by now. People don't know how to go on a proper relevant, right? I teach this every single week, and I still, even with my students, I'm like, wait, I've been saying this for years. How are you not like having your relevant fine, right? So I wanted to go into more of the technical aspect. There's other instructors that are doing the fun. I'm not fun. I'm not. I don't have this
So I
personality,
can so feel you, because
Yeah.
I'm the same.
Right. I don't have this personality when I walk into a room and I'm like, hey everybody, and like I make everybody scream. Like that's not who I am. I'm a
Yeah.
little bit more serious. Listen, since I was a little girl. This didn't change when I became a salsa star or anything. I've always been like this.
Mhm.
And I like the technique aspect of it. So I wanted to gravitate and move a little bit more into that. So I can maybe contribute in a different way to our community.
Hmm. Well, I think what you're saying is so important. Most people who make it in the salsa world or bachata or whatever are people who have technique from other styles, because there's a lot of serious training. You just go to a class and you do your ballet technique for an hour and a half, and then you
Yes.
move on to another dance style, because you first need the body control. Your releve, your core, your balance, and no one is discussing with that's no fun. The, Someone is Seku is commenting, it's more about consistent training regimen that incorporates that kind of training.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, I think that in the Latin community there's this assumption it's just a street fun Latin dance,
Right.
and then it kind of, these are different contradicting values, right? The ambition and the efforts, as
No,
opposed to
and
fun.
even the way that it's evolving, right? Like right now, even if you're like, hey, I just want to be purely a social dancer, I don't care about technique, I don't care about taking classes, you're still maybe gonna go into the dance floor and a lead is gonna grab you, or a follower is gonna grab you, that it might end up pushing your level a little bit, right? Because the
Mhm.
scene has evolved. The level
Yeah.
of salsa has evolved. And then if you're not ready for that, you could get injured or you're not gonna have a good time. So I think that it's this misconception that salsa doesn't have its own technique, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of people translate technique from other dances into salsa. Salsa
Mhm.
has its own technique. Salsa has its own fundamentals, right? And we don't think about it that way because it's like your grandma, if you're Latino, would dance salsa in the kitchen, right? But that's not where our world has come, right? Like our world has
Mhm.
evolved a little bit out of that. So we need to find a way to incorporate that technique without people getting bored, or just people understanding, well, you want to be a good salsa dancer even if it's for fun. Here's the tools that you need to start with, so you're able to continue to grow or whatever. So just I think we lack a lot of education in the salsa world, right? Especially because a lot of the ways that we that we connect is through congresses, and you get an hour workshop, right? This is why also I love also, because you guys take the time to hire us to do like, no, do 4 hours, do 5 hours, do 6 hours with people, because in an hour there's just so much that I can teach you. I either teach you a combo and you have fun, or I either teach you technique, like, so we lack education. We lack the talking to our students. We lack the saying, well, I know maybe this is not the most fun part, but stick with me. And then that's going to get you to have more fun because you have control over your body. So I think we do need to take our responsibility as educators a little bit more in the salsa world rather than just instructors.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you for mentioning this. I also believe in a consistent training. I learn more when I spend a couple of hours with an instructor. 1 hour is just to get inspired, to look what they're doing.
Yes.
It's kind of like window shopping,
Yes.
You're just looking, touching, but you're not really experiencing it. So totally make sure you guys join Karel Flores Intensive Workshop. We have a comment here on Instagram. Natasha is saying she's excited for the technique class. Where are you from, Natasha? Let us know. So yeah, we're always going to do this. We also have Sara Panero's bachata intensive 4-hour class. We also have a rumba class with Pedro and Juicy. So it's something for the guys also to work on. And you said something, Karel, you said that it's important as an instructor what you say to people, not just this was cute, the dancing, right, but also, what comes out of your mouth as a role model. And I had this thought because during pandemic and after I switched a bit from salsa, I started doing kizomba, and I went back to also to zouk. I get that every now and then because I've been for 20 years in this, that I get bored and I need a refreshment. And I realized that there is a different way of treating a man and a woman in a class, that the female instructors get a lot of respect. They talk half of the class because what they do is so important technically. And women in Kizomba actually teach partner work classes, not just the footwork and solo classes. And I had this, it was so new for me because in salsa, always when there is a partner work, is the guy just leading and the lady sometimes saying, oh, here you shake your hip, or here you control this, or you can throw your arm. But it's like we're so silent, if someone makes an effort or is heard, it's such an exception. So I was wondering what you think about this, how this male attitude, the dominance, and then the female also passiveness, how this affects the way we dance or we think about a female dancer and a male dancer.
I mean, I think to start, I'm just going to make this disclaimer. I think we need to really step away from saying female dancer and male dancer. Okay. I think that especially in our salsa world now, where you have a lot of people who do same gender dancing, I think we need to kind of step away from saying like a woman or a man, because there's followers, there's leaders. I think language matters, and we need to be as inclusive, especially if we're coming from a place of we are the oppressed, right? Like in generally the patriarchy oppresses women. That's a reality. So we need to make sure that we are allies to like the LGBTQ plus community, or to people who just choose to do things differently, right? Like you say, like in Kizomba, a lot of females work as leaders, and
actually,
right?
The concept of you actually purchase a leader pass or a follower pass.
Exactly.
The same in zouk. So there's this concept, right?
Exactly. So I think, I don't know. I mean, I this is just me making an assumption, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Kizomba. The Kizomba world, of course, Kizomba has been going for a long time, but the explosion of the Kizomba world has happened more recently than the explosion of the salsa world, where we have a way more inclusive community as humans, right? We've learned so much as humans to be inclusive, to do things differently, to have less stereotypes or less gender norms. So it's much easier for somebody who comes into this world where it's more accepted to be like followers, leaders. So hopefully it's because of that, right? Because we're more inclusive. In the salsa world, it started years ago. It started with mostly Caribbean men, right? Which, of course, like I'm not saying all men, right? But it happens that in the Caribbean, we have a lot more of sexism, where you see like the guy is a leader, or even like, recently somebody tagged me and they were like, who's your favorite choreographer in the salsa world? And he said, my favorite choreographer is Karel Flores. This is the first time in 17 years of career that somebody gives me credit as a choreographer. And I've made a lot of other choreographies with a partner. I've always supported Yamule with my ideas. I've done a lot of female, choreographers for females or for just in general for shines. And I've never gotten credit as a choreographer. Not once. This is the first time somebody gives a credit a choreographer. Because the way that Salsa World started, it was like the man, in this case, definitely was the man, was the leader always. The woman was the follower. And just with that concept alone, it could be heavy, right? Where like the woman is just following. Even in the way we social dance, right? Even the way that I was trained to social dance. No. You're waiting for the leader always.
Yeah.
You don't do anything. You don't look to the side. You're just paying attention to the leader. It's not like, yes, of course, he's starting the movement. You're continuing the movement, but it's a conversation between two people. And just like I'm paying attention to you, how about you pay attention to my energy if I want to hit a break and you don't make me hit the break? You feel me, right? So even the way kind of it's designed, it's like, oh, we're always just waiting for the guy or for the leader to do something, right? So I think that it is important, especially for female or for people who don't necessarily come into this gender rules, to take a stance, right? That's why I do it with my art all the time, and I do it when I talk to my students, and I do it with my shirts. You have shirts that say feminist. Right now I have shirts that about abortion rights, because we have a crisis with abortion rights. I know in Poland too, right? So
We've
I
had
think
it forever.
I know. So I think that, we are what's that quote? Like, be the change that you want to see in the world. That's a reality. We have to start ourselves, and we start when we teach by, like I said, saying follower and leader instead of woman and man. By Bruno and I, we teach. And the way we've come together, it's like, okay, you explain the pattern, and then I explain how a follower is supposed to do that. Because listen, everybody teaches you how to be a leader, but you're supposed to know how to follow. Nobody teaches you like what is to follow. Like Bruno and I have been doing classes with like, what does it mean to follow? How does it feel to follow? Nobody teaches you that. You're just supposed to know. Right? So Bruno and I, my new partnership, like I explain the following. We do exercises. When he counts, I don't count. When I count, he doesn't count, but we're both talking. We're both the same. We are 50-50 in our partnership. And we do that as instructors, not only because it really is more efficient. I have things to say. You have things to say. People have things to learn from the both of us. But also, it's what's right. We are a partnership, right? So we are teaching that by being that, we are showing people like, hey, you're both supposed to be saying it. So we have to lead by example.
Carmen is saying from Spain, great argument. Inspiras muchísimo, Karel. Saludos desde España.
Gracias, mi amor. Besitos, España.
You're so right. In the Kizomba and in the Zouk, for instance, they treat this as an exchange of energy. So there is really, the initiator could just as well be the woman. But there's also a lot of more freedom in terms of structure, because it's not so attached to the rhythm and the basics. So there's more freedom in the mind and then in the body. But I like that you are starting this, because it's also my reflection that, when you're in a class, when the partner is saying, yeah, make her do this, and then surprise her here, and then if she doesn't smile, then spin her again, that's
I know.
That it's very like, okay, I'm just here to obey, right? That the concept is like this. And I don't like to dance in such a way. I get bored, and I get also tired, when I'm just an executor of someone's vision, when there's no exchange. So I'm glad you're making this change, and you guys should come to Karel and Bruno's classes if you're curious to figure out also, not only a student, but also as instructors, to see how they do this, because it can be an eye-opener and maybe a change to
we've sat down and thought about it and talked about it. It's not like just happening, right? We want to make this. Even me, I have a campaign against lady styling. Even though lady styling fed me for years, right? Like that was my thing, lady styling. But to me, it's like, it's also like non-inclusive. Then everybody who doesn't, think they're a lady, like, and this is exactly what I'm saying. Like even styling, right? Like doing an arm. Well, if you're, it doesn't matter what you have between your legs. You still have arms. You still have to move them, and I think that we need to connect with both our feminine, like you see, if you see a girl dancing masculine, doing a lot of Afro and stuff, they're like, oh my gosh, she's a badass. But if you see a guy being more feminine, it's like, ew, how is he feminine? Like why is he feminine? He can't be the champion if he's so feminine. he can't represent me as a man, because a lot of the things are seen like as if it's feminine is more inferior. So to me, it's like, I don't want to do lady styling because I want to be inclusive. I want to teach you my style and my technique, but it's not just for ladies, it's for absolutely everybody who wants to learn how to move. And maybe I'm more feminine in my dancing. Maybe it's something that you can explore, your feminine side, or doing things a little bit different, and then you can actually like maybe find some authenticity about yourself within that movement, right? So we definitely need to be more inclusive as instructors and dancers, but also organizers. Think about these things, so people feel more included. What if a guy comes and it's like, oh, it's a lady styling class, I can't go? Then you're losing out on maybe somebody that wanted to join that workshop.
Yeah, I love that you bring this up, because that also, limits access to people, because a lot of men can learn from you, the technique, the speed, the feet rotation, the movement. And so when you call it a lady styling, it's like, okay, you're only going to have guys that are professionals and that have distance, or just
Right.
very few strong personalities that are going to go there in spite of the name. But most of the time it will eliminate them. So it's a very good point to start naming classes differently, make it a body movement, make it a footwork,
Right.
make it a choreography by Karel.
Technique, or yeah, exactly, or like Karel Flores style. Not necessarily styling, but Karel Flores style. Like, just, I think that we really need to be more inclusive in general, right? And we need to think about these things, because if we want our society to function better, it has to start with us, the organizers and the instructors, the people who are quote unquote on top, because we're all the same, we're all just as important, right? But the people who are there teaching you or leading you or having the events, we're the ones that have to really be worried about where are we taking our world and our society and our scene. And if we want to take it in the right way, it starts with us.
We are super, I have a company that's led and managed by women, so we are super focused on this female role and all this. We have Troy here. He's making fun of us, and I need to learn to be more feminine. It's just that my boyfriend is playing that part.
You need to watch your jokes, because you're gonna get canceled, Troy.
Exactly. We have some reactions here on Instagram. 1 second. Someone is saying that they agree. We got listeners here, but I don't want to interrupt you while you're talking, so I'm losing them. Oh.
I'm sorry, I talk so much.
No, it's fine. When we were scheduling this interview, I was suggesting maybe a 20-minute talk, because I don't want to take too much of Carol's time. But she says I always talk so much, and it's so great. You're so great.
I was like, there's no way we're going to do this in 20 minutes, Anya. Have you met me?
Okay, well, this was really important subject. I love that, because that also gives me, when you're saying this, gives me also a new vision for us all. What is it that we're doing? How are we different? I want to incorporate these ideas, and also with me growing and maturing, and also being 40 and being in this business for 21 years. And a mom of a girl, that she's out there, she's listening, she's watching. Actually, the young girls, all the TikTok and Snapchat and so on, they have very liberal content there.
Sure.
They're like, girls 13, they say, why is the teacher telling me that I dress decent? I'm just wearing shorts. What kind of shorts do you want me to wear? A guy can wear shorts. I cannot wear shorts to school. I'm hot. It's summer.
And I think the world is changing, right? And I think one of the mistakes that, for example, are the generations before us, like the baby boomers who are in power now, what they haven't done is kind of like move with the times with millennials, right? And we can't make that mistake, right? You have a child who's a Gen Z who's being liberal, right? We have to listen, and we have to learn, and we have to be open to kind of like evolving from the ideas that we were born with, and heal, right? Because it's the only way we're going to move forward, because we keep fighting with baby boomers and their stupid, sorry, not mean to offend anybody, but like, these like very, very conservative ideas, which they won't refuse to kind of like move forward and like see life different. We have to learn from that, and we have to make sure that we're open to the changes that the new generations are exposing to us, because a lot of these things are really making the world a better place, and we have to get with the trend.
I think this is always easy to understand to people who experience certain kind of discrimination, because as a woman, when you experience this, then you have a lot of understanding for all the discrimination on race. I reflect upon the things that I say. When someone tells me this is racist, and I didn't even realize because I want to be sensitive. I don't want to give anyone that experience. The fact, for instance, that when I was younger, I used to ask a person that was non-white, where are you from? And then where are you like really from? Where's your family from? Because I was so curious, but I was also making that person feel, unwelcome or like not from here, a stranger. But I'm willing to listen because I know what it's like when I am not heard, I'm telling that in a world ran by white men, that sometimes like we're on the side. I think that it's the hardest to understand to those privileged who never feel, that they're not in the mainstream. Because it's really hard for them to open up. They need to want to.
But I think the younger generations, they're growing up with this, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, we are the older generations now. Apparently, I'm like a geriatric millennial or some shit they call me now, right? But it's like, but we listen. I think one of the reasons why I became such a feminist, right, and why I took my career that way is because I struggled a lot with competition, right? Mm-hmm. And we had a lot, like, for example, Delia Madera and I would like hate each other because Osmar put us to compete. That's the reality. That's the way he thought was going to be the best way to take, like to make our talent explode by competing. But the truth is that it made it worse, and I grew up in a very competitive society where they tell you like, there's no room for every woman. You have to fight with teeth and nail for your spot. And that's not the truth. There is space for everybody, right? And I had to learn it the wrong way. And I did a lot of things that were sexist. And I've done things that are racist. And I've done things that are ableist and ageist. I've done them throughout my life. But I think that the point is not to be like, well, if I did something racist, I'm racist. Be like, yes, I did something racist that made me racist. How do I learn how to make it better? How am I introspective about what I'm bringing out to the world? Not only because I've been oppressed, but because I don't want anybody to feel oppressed, especially not by me, right? We need to learn from our mistakes and we need to own them. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems, that a lot of people think they have the right answers. Nobody has the right answers. We're all on this journey together. We're all growing together. That's why we have to listen. That's why we have to sit down and read and like listen to a lot of people, right? And listen to the people who are oppressed and who are feeling that, and be like, oh, why are you saying man? If, I'm like, oh, whatever it is, the situation, you listen and you take it seriously. I hear the comment a lot of like, oh, why do we have to use inclusive language? Like, that's silly. I'm like, that's silly because you're a guy. I don't hear that from women.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
It's not taking shots. Yeah. It's not about taking shots. It's not about me accusing you of anything. It's about us like, listen, if you're not oppressed, listen to the oppressed. If you don't think inclusive language is necessary, how about you talk to somebody from the LGBTQ plus community, or somebody who's trans, or a woman, right? Because I made this example in Spanish. Usually a lot of things are masculine. So if you come to a place and you're like, hola a todos, you're saying like basically like hello to all guys. Like when we say guys, I try to stay away from guys, right? And he was like, oh, and I'm like, okay, but if we say hello all girls, you're gonna feel uncomfortable. But I'm supposed to be comfortable with guys. But if I say, hey everyone, how are you girls? People are gonna be like, we're not girls. Guys are going to be like, we're not girls, right? So, of course, it doesn't affect you because you don't think it's important because it doesn't affect you.
Exactly. That's what I meant by privilege. We have a lot of comments on Instagram. Let me go through them because this is a really interesting discussion. I love this. No, actually, we're so exposed now to this. I think I heard the word patriarchy first time when I was 30 or so, and it became clear to me when I became a mother. Yes. Because I suffered as a parent, and all the discrimination and different standards. But my daughter, at the age of 13, we went to Billie Eilish concert, and there was a supporting artist from Canada, and she was screaming on stage, "Fuck patriarchy," and she was talking about a Me Too situation in the music business, and it's all out in the open, and the girls can rebel. It's such a different start. So that was
amazing. It's a revolution.
Yeah.
And they make the world a better place.
Here we got Falco saying Bellezas del Mundo. I think he means you.
No, Bellezas is plural, honey.
Kristen saying, bravo, Karel, totally agree with what you said. We have here Maslow coaching. Kind of at this point of your career, what is your favorite type of event to go to? Yeah, to participate in.
Hmm. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think that for me, like I used to say, like, oh, I love small events or I love bigger events, and I really think that it depends on how the organizers treat you. Because
Mm.
my favorite events vary. Some are big, some are small. But I do think that there's a huge difference, at least at 37, right? When somebody, makes me travel to Poland and they have 3 stops and my bag gets lost. And when I get there, I have to wait 30 minutes at the airport because somebody's not picking me up. And then I get there and I have to wait another 3 hours because I got there at 11 and my room is not ready after traveling for 15 hours, right? And then they don't consider like the time change, and they put me there super early in the morning workshops, and they expect me to, like they don't give you food or they don't have water for you. And I think that that really takes a toll, right? Like you're already coming to an event, you're tired, you're uncomfortable, you don't have fun. My favorite events are the ones where organizers think about me as a human, and it reflects on also how they think about the participants of the event, right?
Mm.
So whenever I enjoy myself is when I honestly like at least get the minimum, like water, a decent room, a decent flight. Like somebody was like, "Oh, I'm gonna fly you from." Literally, I had to go 2 hours from New York to I don't know where. I didn't even know there was an airport 2 hours from New York. It was not JFK or LaGuardia or anything. 2 stops. I had to go to Iceland to go to Germany, and then they were like, "Can you not check in a bag because we don't want to pay for the bag?" I'm like, "Nah." Like, what? Like, you know how much shit I carry? I don't wake up looking like this, right? So I think for me, at the end of the day, it's like it's not so much of the event as how the event is handled and how the event is run and how organized the event is and how thoughtful the organizers are. That
Mhm.
has way more to do with how I enjoy myself than really the size of the event or the place, for sure.
Mhm. Mhm. Makes sense. Makes sense. We have more. Orlando Gomez. I can say this is the reason why I admire Karel Flores as one of the best dancers, because we need to be more inclusive in different community and places, whatever and whoever. And then Polak sounds Polish. Great to hear all that being said loud. Amazing and inspiring women, both of you. Thank you, sweetie. It's nice that you're with us. It all makes sense, when we're in a bigger crowd. A team makes a change,
For sure.
always.
For sure.
Actually, I started my business life very early. I was 20, and I had a male business partner who was 6 years older, and he's still a good person. But I didn't realize how much sexism I was experiencing. And as a young person, I wanted to play the game because I wanted to be, cool, and I wanted to be part of the gang, etc., etc. And then when I took my business my own way, then I realized how much of this uneven treatment we get.
For sure.
Polaka escribiendo de Mexico. Okay, that's the girl. Do you know a Polish girl in Mexico?
Listen, eat a lot of chilaquiles for me, please.
Do you go to Mexico a lot, Karel? Do
Not
you?
anymore. I used to go. I mean, I go there a lot to work, but I don't go there enough anymore to like visit my family or anything. It's
Mhm.
tough. It's tough to balance that out. It's better like to have my mom come here, when I'm not traveling, something like that. Because it's like even when I go to Mexico, I still have to get on a plane. I still have to pack. I still have to, do all of that. So I don't get to go visit the family as often as I would like to or as I used to.
Mhm. So, what are your plans now for the next 3, 5 years? What are you going to focus on?
Well, I want to continue to dance until a certain point. I definitely don't want to do this till I'm like 50. Like, I think I would like to give myself 8 more years
Mhm.
to work like this, to travel, to be on stages. And I would like to write a book.
Mhm.
I'm working on that. I would like to write a book and maybe like kind of like use what I've learned with teaching and public speaking, and also the reach that I've managed to create, the community that I managed to create, to maybe write a book and do some like maybe transition into public speaking more than dancing.
That would be amazing. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I can totally see it. You're made for this.
I hope
I I was thinking
so.
as we were talking, I think I had this thought a couple of years ago, maybe when I was around 35. I was looking around and I wasn't seeing any professional salsa dancers, female professional salsa dancer past the age of 35. And I was thinking, okay, it's not that they are not allowed to, because they would be, I mean, allowed socially, that they're not
Right,
accepted,
right,
because they
right.
would be respected, for their experience in teaching. Why is it that they drop out? Why is it that they change profession? Why is it that they move to different type of work? I don't know, different school, different business. And I didn't really get the answer. I think there are changes, but what are the changes? What do you think? I mean, I don't want to put names, but there were so many amazing dancers that I was inspired by 10 years
Right,
ago, 15 years ago,
right.
that they're gone off the stage. And
I
it's a
think
pity.
that the reality is that the standards for women are much higher than the standards for men, right? Like you can have a fat guy on stage and nobody will say anything, right? But then
Hot,
you have a
hot.
yeah,
And
yeah, but you see, but like that also comes from the same thing. It comes from the same place, right? The patriarchy and like the fat phobia and the ageism, right? So if you gain a little, listen, I
yeah.
gained 10 pounds at 25 pounds during the pandemic, and I gained 25 pounds. That's
What?
10 kilos. 10
Mm-hmm,
kilos during the pandemic. And I
mm-hmm.
gained 10 kilos during the pandemic out of conviction because I wanted to get away from diet culture and I wanted to learn to listen to my body, to understand my body. I have so much body dysmorphia, right? Even when I was like a stick, I still thought that I was fat and I still thought that I was ugly, and I gained the weight because I was like, I'm not going to play by the rules. If I gain weight, fine. Now I've lost the weight. I also lost it by not playing by the rules, right? I did it on my own conviction. But the engagement alone on my social media from when I gained weight to when I was skinny is huge. Mind
With
you, I would get 100,000 views in a video where I have a sports bra and I'm skinny versus 20,000 views in a video where I show that I have more weight.
mm-hmm.
Right? So at the end of the day, the standard, if a guy gains a little bit of weight, nobody says anything, right? So the standards for a woman is like she has to get on stage, she has to be flexible and fast and a good performer and have her makeup on and have her hair done and an amazing shiny costume and be skinny and young, right? That's not the case for guys. Guys get on stage without any rhinestones, without any makeup. They barely put gel. Not all of them. I'm generalizing. Barely gel on their hair. They are fat and they're because the thing at the end of the day, you can be fat and healthy. So it's not. I'm not saying that being fat and there's anything wrong with it because I've learned to understand that. But there's not that standard. You won't get as chastised or as looked down if you're a guy, if you're older, you have some weight, as if you're a woman. So it's hard to live with that. It's hard to live with yourself. Like I struggled when I had the weight on. My biggest battle was to love myself and accept myself. And also like, oh, I'm gonna get on this stage. I look horrible and feeling really horribly because of my weight gain, right? And I kept trying to convince myself like, and to be like, look at yourself. Your talent as a dancer has not changed at all because you've put on weight. You still can move. You still can perform. Like you're still amazing. You're still beautiful. You're just 10 kilos over more beautiful, right? And I really had to fight that with me. And I really had dark moments where I would cry and had to pull myself together and be like, this can't be stronger than me. This fat phobia, this sexism, these double standards, like they can't be stronger than my spirit. But it's a really tough battle. So I can understand like in a different generation that now we're more outspoken about it, but in a different generation feeling like your body's changing or your hair is changing or you have more wrinkles, and to love yourself and accept yourself when everybody is looking down at you, you're just like, fuck it, I'm out. I can see it. Now things are changing. Now we're having the conversations. But yes, like I look at myself in the video on Facebook and I'm like, oh my God, you see my wrinkles. Like I can't help it, right? And we have to do the internal work every single day on ourselves, because by accepting ourselves with our changes and with our whatever it is, we are standing up for ourselves. We're part of the revolution. We're part of things changing. The younger generations are going to see me and be like, fuck, I can still do that at 37. Cool. I have so much to look forward to.
I really appreciate that you're mentioning this, because this is such a quiet female subject. I've been also big. I had two babies. One thing was baby fat, but I mean, also there were many women around me who were skinny, who just, they gained some weight for the baby, and then they look the same. And I always got so
So all
fat, and
bodies are different.
oh my god, it took me so much trouble, to lose that weight. And then I know I can go on a diet, I can be very disciplined, I weigh all my food, I cook all my food, I get super skinny, and everybody's like, wow, you look amazing. But it costs me so much work. It's like a project, it's like a business project. All I do is I take care of the food all the time, and I cannot go eat out, because that I imbalance the whole work that I did. So it's really frustrating. And when I'm a bit bigger, and I'm also not obese, not
Right.
it's not sick
Listen,
fatness.
Anya, I got called a whale. They were like, get that whale of the screen. I was like, come on.
Oh, oh my god.
Seriously? Like a whale? Like people are crazy. Keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry. I just wanted to say
no,
that.
no, I just, because I also saw your videos, and I realized that you put in weight, but I would never comment on it, because I think it's such a female experience. We get bigger, we get skinnier depending on our activity, depending on our hormones. We don't always have to be this, supermodel skinny, especially that I think that my natural weight is when I don't gain weight anymore, is actually not the perfect skinny dancer's weight.
Right. Yes.
I weigh about 62 kilos, and I feel this is not really the perfect social media video material,
But that's
but
you.
it's comfortable.
Yes. Let's
Right.
see.
I don't feel fat yet, and it costs me a lot more effort to lose it. And I work out twice a week. I lift weights. I do really heavy stuff. I do Pilates. I have perfectly balanced, healthy.
Right.
So right now I dance. So it's not that I sit on the couch and it's junk. It's
Yeah, but
just
you
really.
see, like but that's the thing. It's like, I was having a conversation. We had this whole like judging panel, right? And that topic came up. And some of the leaders of our community, which are also like super open-minded and they're inclusive, but their default was to say, hey, if you don't have like the skinniest body, at least choose an appropriate costume for your body.
Mhm.
And to me, there's so much wrong with that.
Mhm.
Like after that, I approached them and I'm like, so you're telling me that there's something wrong with a fatter? No, it wasn't telling me. Like, I had
Mhm.
already lost the weight, but it was like, so the message is, hey, if you don't look a certain way, cover yourself, because there's
Mhm.
something wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I know a lot. Listen, I was much healthier mentally when I gained the 10 kilos, when I was like, listen, I am not going to put up with rules anymore. And of course, I gained the weight because when you start trying to eat intuitively or kind of like get in touch with
Mhm.
your body, you're
Yeah.
like, I'm going to eat everything, right? And it's a process. It's a process where you're like, now I can be like, I'm full. I don't want it. I feel like I want to eat something sweet. Well, how can I, do this or do that? I read, I have tools. I read an amazing book that I recommend everybody. That's called the Glucose Revolution, right?
Mhm.
That it really like gives you insight on how to like enjoy your sweets or whatever. But I'm rid of food rules. I'm never weighing my food again. I'm never going to the gym because I need to lose weight. I do it because I want to be stronger for my art.
Mhm.
I eat healthy because I want to be healthier, because I understand the impact of food in your body. But I'm never going to do it because you tell me that being fat, there's something wrong with it. Because I
Mhm.
was mentally unhealthy when I was doing all this diet, way more than when I gained the weight.
Oh my God,
There's so many.
I have the same experience totally. Whenever I'm bigger, I'm happier. I have a great romantic life. It doesn't really affect anything else
Right.
except for the fact that I don't stand up to the image.
Right, right. And that's the truth. Like we live in a society where people are mentally unhealthy because they're trying to portray that they're healthy because they're skinny. Right.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of skinny girls who hate being skinny and who, no matter what they eat, they feel super skinny, because also like you can't be too skinny. But you see, like that's the problem. It's like these ridiculous standards, especially for women, right? Where it's like, when I was growing up, you were supposed to be like super skinny with big boobs, right?
Mhm.
Now you're supposed to like don't have a lot of boobs, have a big ass and a tiny little waist, right? So wait, I'm supposed to have two different types of bodies in my lifetime? If I'm lucky, probably even three. right? It's ridiculous. And we have to come to a space that, yes, you're taking care of your health. I have bigger girls in my team that can outdance any fucking skinny girl, who are healthy, who they take care of their bodies, who work out. But the thing is that maybe like their metabolism or their thyroid, or maybe they just put up weight when they were younger and it's so much harder and it would take so much mental effort to lose it. They are happy with the way they are. And you know what? That's what we need. We need happy people. We need people who are happy with their bodies. We need people. We don't need people who are killing themselves weighing food just so you can have another like on our video.
Mm.
You know,
I
we
love,
need happy
you know,
people.
we have now, there are Instagram profiles by fitness girls who have more, just they're rounder, you know, more fat, and they work out like crazy and show their body in bikinis and in shorts, and they're, you know, they're strong, they're proportional, but they're bigger, and I really like that. I think that's super brave. I'd like to do this one day. I'm not so brave, you know, to show all the details, but yeah, but it's
And,
really
and, it,
nice.
and it's only because of that fear, you know, of not being accepted. You know, and I understand that. Like, I have cellulite, what can I say, and some wrinkles. Like that, I'm a woman and I'm a person, and like, you know, and I work out probably more than a lot of people, and I have so much stamina, and I'm healthy, and I go to the gym and I take classes and I do all the things, but I still have cellulite. It's hormonal and it's also genetic for me. There's people who do way less than, there's people that are way bigger than me and don't have cellulite. Everybody is different, and we have to learn how to just accept it, and not that's not more it shouldn't be more valuable than what I'm trying to teach you or what I'm trying to show you, my weight.
Yeah. Mm.
It's like,
I just had this thought, you know, because I wonder like how many I don't know why I quit performing and I quit the stage. I think it was hard to balance everything.
right, for sure.
Was aging one of the reasons also, you know, that it demands from you so much, the
Yeah.
looks and everything, you know, if it was more inclusive, maybe because I still love the creative
Yeah,
process. I love to dance, you know,
exactly. And isn't that super sad that because we have to, we think that we need to like fit into this specific standard, some people are like, oh, I just rather quit than like have to put myself through that, or have to hear people saying that I don't look this way, or have myself feeling so uncomfortable going on a stage. Listen, I went on stage and I came out and I was like, I told Alemana, I was like, how disturbing is it to see me at this weight?
Mm-hmm.
How sad is that? She was like, the only thing I saw was how amazing your solo was. It's not disturbing at all. You're beautiful. Right? But my thought when I came out of that stage was like, oh, I wonder how people saw my belly.
Oh, I also have a belly obsession, especially after 2 kids.
We have a uterus, girlfriend. We have a uterus. That's what bulks up. It's my fucking uterus. I can't take it out. And if I take it out, it disrupts my hormones and maybe I'll gain more weight. So like I don't win, right? So it's sad. It's sad that my thought is that, even though I'm trying to fight it every single day, right? And accept myself and love myself and make sure that the things that I'm doing are for my health, mental and physical health, right? And I came out of the stage saying that. So imagine a 13-year-old girl who's growing up in a world that's telling you that you're supposed to look a certain way, or you who maybe you're thinking, maybe I quit this stage because of my weight. That sucks, man. You know, like we need to change that. We need to have the conversations, and we need to make this world better for everybody and more inclusive.
I love that you're saying this. You with so much influence and admiration all over the world. Let me read. We have a couple of comments. I think 2 people said they're going to buy your book. Uh, so you already have customers, which is clear.
True. Yay!
I can't wait for the book, Kristen is saying. And I definitely buy that book, Orlando Gomez. I'll be waiting for that.
Thank
Saludos
you.
desde Mexico. Hey, Carol. Lots of love from India. Are you going to school for public relations? Apocalypse is asking.
So my original plan, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, was to go back to school. I wanted to go back to school and do psychology and somehow mix psychology with the dancing. But something changed in the recent years, and I had like this revelation that I think that my purpose in this world, it sounds a little out there, but like, you know, it's to kind of like share. share things, right? Like talk and like go inside and like see everything that I've experienced, that I've felt, and find a way to kind of like take that out, right? And hopefully like maybe inspire or move or something. So then I decided that I wanted to write a book and go into that. And I'm not going to school for it. I'm probably going to take a lot of like workshops in New York on how to write books. I'm also thinking maybe like I'll have it obviously like an editor, right? Like I'll write it and I'll have an editor who's going to make it right, because I don't think I can like really write a book. But I don't think I'm gonna go back to school. Like it's not realistic for me. I tried. I was going to college when I was with the Amule for many years, and it was just really hard. I barely have the energy now to like clean my house, because you see, like people only see like you rehearsing and traveling, but when I come back, like my boyfriend and I still have to clean the house, and we still have to cook, and we have to still have to take the dog out, and you have to rest and spend time with your friends and family and hydrate and take care of your hair. And like it's not just like the rehearsal, which the rehearsal, I rehearse every single day. I teach 3 times a month in New York alone, plus the traveling, plus rehearsals with the girls. Like I have to do new choreographies. It's a lot, right? And it's not realistic for me to really think about going back to school now, unless my boyfriend becomes a millionaire, right? And he's like, okay, now it's your time. Go to school and then do your thing. I don't think it's realistic for me. I don't think it's something that I would love to have gone to college. I would have loved to have done that, but I think I've come to the place where I've understood that one of the reasons why I still was stuck on the idea of going to college was because like not in my family, but like I had a very influential father figure who was like, oh, you have to go to college, don't do the art thing, and I always pushed away like kind of like my artistic side. And they're in society, like we think like, artists are less valuable than maybe people who go to college or whatever. There's no way to make money out of arts and whatever. So I always had that in the back of my mind. And I think I always kind of like rejected my artistic side to a certain extent. And I always thought like, this is going to end and I'm just going to go to college and do something else. But I think it was more that because I really couldn't accept that I was a dancer, that I was an artist. And I've come to the place where I'm like, I'm an artist, I'm a dancer. I come from a whole lineage of dancers and artists in my family, women, right? And this is who I am. And can I do more with it? Can I be more than just a dancer? Absolutely. But guess what? I'm a dancer. I'm an artist. That's who I am. And I've just recently come to kind of accept that about myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Oh, yeah, all of us, we feel the social pressure. Everybody who is in the business kind of has to do their own work, a bit of a rebel, and
Yes.
kind of come to terms with it. I went to school. I have a master's degree, the degree that I did while I was setting up my company, and I never showed that degree to anyone. It was just to my father's satisfaction and maybe mine,
Yeah,
but.
yeah.
Yeah, I did it, but it doesn't really. Everything else I learned in practice. I learned the business. It's
Yeah,
I
no,
was
of course there's
in
so much
language.
to learn. There's so
Yeah,
much to learn. Like you're so open to learn. Like of course I'm gonna read books and I'm gonna take classes and courses, but I know that it's not realistic for me right now to go back to college. And I know now that I only wanted to do it so I can please this one
yeah,
person and maybe society that, like a lot of people expected so much of me. I was a good student. They were like, oh, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. So I kind of didn't want to let them down, even though they probably don't think about me at all, right? Like I was living in this fantasy where it's like I want to please my third grade teacher who probably doesn't even remember my name, right? So at the end of the day, of course, there's so much to learn, and of course, I would love to take courses, like I said, and do so many things. But I think that at some point we have to. That's the same thing you said, right? With everything, we are kind of in a rebellion. We're in a revolution where it's like we have to love ourselves and accept ourselves for who we are and what we do, and stop listening so much to other people's expectations, and just do what you love.
mm-hmm.
And for example, that's a huge struggle for me as a choreographer now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where I see like what people cheer for nowadays, right? What people stand up for in a show. And then here I am like doing a show. Mind you, it doesn't always come out worthy of a standing ovation. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But we break our heads trying to figure out like a different song or a different, message. Or somebody just came to me the other day and they were like, why don't you just stop like doing shows with the whole feminist thing and just do like a regular show? And I'm like, you don't get it at all, right? Like Of course I want the standing ovation. I work so damn hard for my shows, right? But at the end of the day, it's like I struggle with like, okay, how do I please people, but also do something that feels right for me, that feels that I can inspire and push my industry and push myself. And, that's a huge struggle as a choreographer, because it's a huge struggle as a human. Like, are you meeting expectations, or are you doing what you want or what you like or what moves you or what you think is right? Of course, always with the open mind that you have to evolve and change and accept criticism and accept feedback. But like at the end of the day, you have to do what moves you. It's a huge struggle in general, as a dancer, as a choreographer, as a person.
I think what I've been observing throughout so many years is like in the past, in the beginning of salsa, there was a lot more room for creativity. There were a lot of different artists, like Holland was dancing differently, France was dancing differently, UK was dancing differently. So then everyone produced a certain interpretation, and it was a lot more artistic, even though in technique it was more amateur, because now there's more knowledge. But in vision, interpretation, it was more interesting. And then there came a time about, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe, when it was going towards a more sports trend, when everyone just puts on a similar ball costume. Yes, it's a similar type of moves, and it doesn't, I can't even, I watch so many shows and I announce so many shows, but I can't even remember, because it's like they don't differ.
I mean, Anya, you see, I don't know if you've seen both my shows with Bruno, but one of them is like we have a denim costume. We do no partner work, and it's a denim costume that still cost me $800. I didn't buy it in H&M. Like, it's still a costume. It's just made out of denim, right? And originally I had a hat and I had sneakers on, because when we created the routine, we created in the park. Right? We did it in the park with sneakers, and I was like, oh, like, let's do something different. Like, I literally had to change it. I had to put heels on, because the response was like, oh, that's not you. Like, why are you wearing sneakers? And like, listen, if I took the heels off, was not because I wanted to be comfortable, because a lot of people take the shoes off because they want to be comfortable. I don't think that dancing and comfortable come together, but that's another story. I took them off because it was the theme. Right? And I put a hat because I wanted it to be so fun, and like that was the theme. And people were like, no, oh my goodness. And a lot of people, they've told me to this day, I don't like the denim routine because it's not you. And I'm like, what's me? Yamule from 2005?
It's a different version of me. It's a different side of me.
It's like, I'm an artist. I'm going to interpret different songs in different ways. I'm going to want to do different things, and there's, like you said, there's not a lot of room anymore to be creative. We think that and I have a suspicion is because we found kind of like a winning formula, right? Like when Yamule came, a little bit, it was like Osmar's formula of the way he structured choreography really worked for the audience, where it was like you have difficult stuff, but you have moments, and you have this kind of like, like flavor and all these things. And people are like, wait, this is the magic formula for me to be successful and travel the world and have a business. Let me do that, which makes sense to a certain extent. But I think that what we forgot is like part of the reason why that formula worked is because it was new and fresh. It wasn't only because of the formula. It was because it was something fresh.
It was also filled with certain personalities, that it's that also giving the special flavor, because then when you do the same system, the same structure, but you put different people, and suddenly it's not so interesting anymore.
Right. It was like a combination of many things, and that's, there's no magic formula. There's art. There's creativity. That's why people don't watch shows, and it makes me so sad that people don't want to watch shows anymore. And they're like, it's because it's the same thing over and over, right? And I'm like, but I tried so hard. My costume was $2,000, but that's the thing. Like a lot of people, for example, even like, oh my God, I hope this isn't taken wrong, but like they learn your style, right? So then my style now seems outdated, because everybody has learned part of my style. They do it, and they're like, oh, Karel, well, now she's outdated. I'm like, wait, but what? A lot of the things have been seen. And of course, we learn things from different people, and we put them in our bodies, makes sense. But we're not looking for authenticity as much as we're looking for success. We're looking for success, so we try to find shortcuts, when what we should be looking for is authenticity and self-expression and creativity, because it feels so good. It feels so good to dance like you. That's why I'm like, let's forget about lady styling. Let's talk about style. What's your style? How do you feel when you move? Does this feel right? Does this arm feel right? you have so many people looking exactly the same, right? And that's why our industry is failing when it comes to that art and that creativity. And we won't move on until we get creative.
I see this also, this exactly the same concept, what you're saying, just a bit from the other side, because being creative is scary, and it needs a lot of acceptance and a lot of space, because when you're doing something new, doing something creative, I mean, it's in dance, it's in the project design and everything. You're experimenting, you're walking to a ground that you don't know yet, so you don't know if it's going to work. So if your audience is not accepting, it's also very scary to be creative, because when you know how to hit a break, it's always a success. But if you do it different, maybe it doesn't work. And I think people are not open because there's also no acceptance of new things. Suddenly, I don't know how it happened. Maybe it was a strong leader who gave in one style and everyone followed, and then suddenly the audience was not prepared anymore for looking for differences. I don't really know, but I feel it's two ways. The artist is not experimenting because they're scared of how they're going to be received, because everything became very pop, very, what's a social media content, what's a picture frame, right? Also, sometimes when you dance, when you move really fast, you don't really get good pictures. You get good pictures when you pose and stand and do something slow.
I mean, and almost also in the same way where organizers. Wait, are we here? Are we here?
When I lost you somewhere, I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I saw something was happening. I mean, the same way, right? Like we're all, and I think that until we really understand this concept as humans, where like we're all connected, right? We're all part of something. Over commercialized, that makes sense too. Somebody said over commercialized, yeah. But also like where we understand we're part of something, right? Like if dancers not being creative, then the audience doesn't accept creativity, then organizers don't hire creative dancers, and then it's all this circle, right? And then we stay within the same thing all the time. So I think
people start dancing bachata and other things because it becomes boring.
Yeah, because it becomes the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think like we are in a place where we can decide what's going to happen with our community, right? As organizers, as professional dancers, as the audience, right? We have the power to choose our leaders. And that's what people don't really understand, right? Like when you give money to somebody who's a jerk, right? You are saying, well, I allow this behavior to continue in my industry, right? When you don't give your money to somebody who's a jerk, they're going to have to change their behaviors if they want to stay in the industry, whatever that is, whether we're talking about creativity, or whether we're talking about sexism, whether we're talking about inclusivity, whatever we're talking about. You guys that are watching right now, you have the power to put people up there or not. How? By consuming their art or not, right? So we have to really understand the responsibility that we all, and the part that we all play in making, forget about our world, our community better, right? And we shouldn't take that lightly. So, get up for the shows that are creative, that maybe don't look exactly like whatever you're used to, or, support instructors that have, a more extensive view, or who say follower and leader, and maybe don't support instructors who are sexist, or maybe bring it up to them, or like we have to make the change all together when it comes to anything, when it comes to creativity, sexism, inclusivity, anything. We are the ones that have the power to make that change.
I agree. Let me read some of the comments, because I've been neglecting our audience here.
Something is happening with my headphones, and I don't know what's happening, but I'm gonna you keep going. I'll keep figuring it out.
Someone is asking Maslow Coaching, how can dancing be used to empower feminism?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's exactly what Karel is doing. Did you hear the question?
No, sorry. Can you?
How can dancing be used to empower feminism? We talked about this, but if you want to summarize.
I mean, I think it's just you have to live your feminism, in every aspect of your life. Like somebody told me in Germany, right? They were like, "Oh my God, it was so nice to meet you and to see that you really are a feminist." Right? She was like, "There's a lot of guys that go out there criticizing your army and saying that you're just posing for social media, right? It's like, you impact your community when you really live through your values. I live through my feminism and through my inclusivity, and in the learning process that of course I'm going through, right? In everything that I do. In my home, with my boyfriend, we don't allow sexist comments or microaggressions between us at all. This is not just when the screen is on. This is something that we live by, right? So if you live by that, you're going to say, I'm not going to pay for this instructor who's sexist, because you live by it. And then there's an impact, right? You know, if somebody says something, you're like, no way, because you live by it. It's in your bones, right? And that's when the changes start happening. I'm not going to move away from feminism because it's in my bones. So everything that I do and everything that I say is going to reflect those values. That's it. That's what I'm going to say.
Love you, Kata, someone says. One of your, I think from someone from America, it's a comment about when you were saying how you felt about your looks on stage. That was awful. I remember you being upset about the nasty comment. Apocalypse. Carrera Daisy saying hello from Spain. Someone says, yes, girl, preach. Girl, preach. Totally agree. Here, a lot of emojis. You're such an inspiration, Karel.
Thank you.
We need more public discussions like this one. Thank you, Karel. We're trying to make a difference. Karel, mi bailarina favorita. Yeah, that question about dancing and feminism I already asked. Okay. No adelgaces por nadie o por nada, solo por ti, por ser feliz. Oh, it disappeared.
Oh, no.
Up my Spanish game.
I see that, Anya. Look at that.
I'm actually learning French. It's my 5th language.
Ooh, bad bitch, bad bitch.
That's the Kizomba community. No one speaks English there, so I had to learn to speak their language. Yes, we need to make changes. Then I have another one. Karel and Bruno are one of the very few genuine 50-50 partnerships. So that would do what you love.
We work on it very hard.
El vestuario de Jean estuvo genial. Someone saying, Asia is saying, I love the sneakers version. Don't change. You can never please anyone. Do your best. And then everyone will show up. Then, okay, longer comment. Yeah, maybe many people can deny about people's expectations, but I always struggle with that. And it's for this trend into society that, I mean, we always pay attention to what people expect you to do.
Yes.
Karel, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Oh my God, so much.
For asking question, how has dancing changed after the pandemic? What do you think, Anya?
Dancing?
Yeah.
Well, from what I hear and observe is that the partner work has gone lower, like the level of partner work, because people were stuck at home just doing solo
The level
work.
of partner work is like, for sure.
That's what I hear from also from my leaders, instructors. And I mean, like locally, we are struggling with salsa. I don't know what's like with other countries, but I hear it's the same, that people move to bachata because the old people have just, step dancing or set up families, had babies, moved out of the city. So we need to build a new crowd, and the new crowd is harder to get into salsa because bachata is so much easier. So I know that UK is struggling with this, Italy. I don't know about New York because, you have a huge Latin community. It's a bit different there, maybe.
I mean, we still have that kind of issue a little bit with bachata, but I think that we have to move out of thinking like bachata and salsa are the same thing. Like I think that bachata was able to get commercialized, which is amazing, but they're different things. Like people don't say I go into salsa or hip hop. Right? Like some people go into hip hop, some people go into salsa. We have to stop thinking about like, oh, they quit salsa because they go to bachata, which is of course a situation. But I think that eventually bachata is going to take off on its own, and it's going to be its own little thing.
I think it is. It is because Spain. In Spain, you hear bachata on the radio. It has become like a pop music. So the people take up classes to pop music. It's such a massive trend. Like the whole country is dancing bachata, and then you have so many dance couples. It's a completely separate thing, separate events, separate floors, certain way of dressing.
And I
right now.
also don't think there's a choice like you either do salsa or bachata. Like, I do contemporary dancing and take other classes, and I also go to the gym and dance salsa. I can do all those.
Yeah, I think it's more in the school or events or party
Yeah.
context what people choose because, at some points they cannot do both. They're going to go to one. So if they go to a congress, they're going to pick the one with strong bachata or strong salsa. So,
I think that where I'm trying to say is like we have to stop competing with bachata to make salsa better, and we have to figure out a way to get salsa back in track, because
yeah.
we're so focused on the fact that bachata has taken over. We're not really looking at the reality of like, okay, how do we make salsa fresh? How do we get people to love salsa again and dance salsa again? Whether there's bachata or no bachata, this was coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
If our industry doesn't get, like I said, more inclusive, if our industry doesn't get, more creative, whether there was bachata or not, we were going to have this crisis. So now it's the time where we have to forget about bachata, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, and think, how do we make our salsa events better? How do we make our salsa dancing better? How do we make it more inclusive? How do we make sure that there's no, weird things happening with sexual abuse or like any of those things, that it's a healthy community, that it's a creative community, this inclusive community? That's what we need to do, and then forget about bachata. Bachata's there, but I don't think we should focus on that, our energy anymore, and we should
Mm-hmm.
focus on making our scene better. How?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I don't have the answers yet, but we have to think of something.
You have saludos desde Argentina, admiración profunda. What would you improve in the salsa scene in Mexico?
I left Mexico 17 years ago. I don't know. I don't know really what's happening in the salsa scene in Mexico. I only know from going to events, which is as much as I know pretty much in Poland, right? So I don't, of course, I have more friends in the salsa world in Mexico, but I really, whenever I go to Mexico, if I go for fun, I don't go salsa dancing. And when I go for events, I can't really get a grasp of what's happening in Mexico in general, sadly.
Mm.
It hurts me to say that.
That's interesting. Yeah, they're not competition. You can do both and love both. I think that concerns salsa and bachata. The instructors teach only bachata because it seems easier. Um,
It's gonna evolve too, salsa seemed easier before too, but watch my words, it's gonna evolve too, to a point where it's also gonna get a little bit more demanding in terms of technique, and it's gonna, it's always easier when you start. It's always fresh and fun when you start. It's keeping, doing one choreography, your first choreography is always going to be amazing. Talk to me when you have your 15th choreography, if it's still good, right? Doing new things are always exciting. It's just learning how to keep them, which is what the crisis we are having, is what we have to focus on. How do we keep it? How do we continue to make it fresh and continue to explore and continue to, offer nice and exciting things in our world?
so true. Well, Carol, do you think that to achieve a higher level of performing is necessary to live the experience to be part of a group?
No, I
Mm.
don't. I think that being part of a group teaches you how to, maybe just how to, like, live in, like, how to survive in this community where everybody's kind of hustling. But I think, I'm eternally grateful for Yamule. I wouldn't change my experience in any way. But I think that with my personality, I probably would have still made it, even if I was in Mexico by myself. Because
Mm.
I'm just so, like, extremely intense. As you all know at this point, right? Of course, being in a group, like, helped me so much, right? But I don't think it's absolutely necessary. Look at Karen and Ricardo. You know,
Mhm.
there's a lot of couples that have done it without being in a group. I don't think it's necessary. It's great, and if you want to do it, for sure, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. No.
Someone here is saying that they loved your session with Delia. I
Ah,
think
it
the
was
video
so
that
good.
I also shared. Yes. How are you guys doing now? You said after your, manipulated, conflicting years.
Yes. I mean, we came to a point where we both decided it was over for us to be enemies. And like, I came to her and I was like, "Hey, let's talk." And we actually never talked. but we both just let it go. I think we both came to an understanding that, of course, we are at fault for a lot of things that happened between us, but also, like, there was, like you said, some manipulation there, and we decided to drop it. And I wanted to do this. I wanted to start these jams, which, by the way, if you all want to purchase it, you can still take it. It's still available on my website. But I wanted to start doing these jams with collaborations with women, and kind of like, my classes are challenging, and I understand that that's not the most fun for everybody all the time. So I wanted to do something that was a little more fun, and just like grooving with another person, and showing different styles. And one thing that I said at the beginning of the class is, like, there's no room for comparisons, right? Which is something that has really ruined things. You see two people dancing together, you're like, she's better than her, she does this better than her. It's like, there's no room for comparing. There's just room for appreciating and dancing and moving together. And that's part of, like, that message that I want to send, and that education that I want to give, where it's like, no, you're not going to compare us. There's space for both of us. There's space for both of our styles. There's space for both of our creativities. There's space for both of our flavors. And people need to understand and accept that. So I wanted to do those jams. And now it was amazing. I mean, Delia and I worked together for so long. And this was the first time we talked together. And the energy was so good. It was so good.
I just saw a bit of it, but I loved it. Another comment: how do you handle the intense egos sometimes of dancers? I feel most teachers are super humble, but some great dancers are sometimes mean in the sense that they only dance with good dancers. And your boyfriend is the luckiest man in the world, Kara.
And I'm so lucky, because he's the most amazing boyfriend in the world. Let me tell you, I'm a lucky girl. So I think that, listen, I think that there has to be an understanding that there's perception and there's reality, right? Because, listen, some people think I'm the nicest girl in the world. Some people think I'm the biggest bitch, right? Because maybe I happen to be in a worse mood when you met me. Like, there was a time where I had bad acne. We talked about it, right? And I would cover my face like this all the time. And I wouldn't want to say hi to people. I'd be like, hi, because I was so embarrassed of my acne. And people were like, oh, she has changed so much. Now she's such a bitch. She doesn't say hi to us. I was struggling. So I think that we have to kind of, like, and I'm not saying it's the case for everybody. There's a lot of people who have a lot of egos, but a lot of those egos come from things that we don't know. Maybe comes from insecurity, maybe comes from, a bad childhood. That doesn't justify it, but I think it's not our place to kind of, like, even deal with them. You had a bad experience with an instructor, maybe give them another chance, or maybe, like, let them be, or, like, that's not without saying that you have to be a nice person, right? But at the end of the day, like I said, one time I was social dancing. On Sundays, I social dance a lot. Why? Because I'm done with my work. I'm not as stressed. I'm not as tired, right? And I social danced all night. I was leaving the room at 4 a.m, and I was holding my boyfriend at the time's hand. And somebody came to me who was on the other side of the room and said, oh, now you're just leaving with your boyfriend, and you didn't even dance one song. And I was like, you see, you never win. I was on the other side dancing all night, right? So a lot of things are perception. And a lot of things are, maybe we're human. Maybe you caught me on a bad day. Maybe I have my period. Maybe I fought with somebody. Maybe I didn't sleep right. So let's give people a little bit more of a chance for a few interactions before we decide they're a certain way. Just like we have to do it with you guys. Sometimes I have students that don't clap and are serious in class. I can't be like, she's a bitch. Sometimes that's how they are. Maybe their culture is like that. Or maybe that's how they focus. Some people are super happy, and it's different. We're all different. So I think that a little bit more kind of understanding, compassion, patience for instructors. Not because you're on top doesn't do fucking things sometimes,
I get this sometimes as an organizer, the friendly tips by some artists, DJs, or just people in the community, that I should make my artists work on the dance floor. Like, they have to be there social dancing. And I always say, like, okay, this is really frustrating, because there is the expectation that in the event, you have all the dancers there. And I always say that they're not my slaves. I don't tell them what time they have to be on the dance floor. I contract them. Yes, there is this expectation that that the artists will present themselves socially, but I don't put this in any contract. I don't put how many hours. Sometimes I get from the most wanted bachata artists, I get it like in a contract, how long they're going to be in a party. And I'm like surprised because I try to create the best conditions, comfort, for an artist so that they can just go and show. And sometimes when El Sol was really big in 2019 and some artists had really a lot of work, like boot camps, rehearsals, shows, they were really there just briefly, like yourself. And it wouldn't even occur to me to go and say, okay, how about some social dancing now, since you're here, because I thought, okay, I guess she doesn't feel like it, this is not, I didn't really state this specifically that this was my expectation. And it's not only your case, it's, Adolfo has been commented on and so on. And I also understand, because I used to perform and travel, that an artist, being away every weekend in certain way gets a bit burnt out, that the party is not as exciting as it is for the participant. So I was always kind of uncomfortable because I didn't know how to answer these expectations, and then also stick to my vision of this is how I treat a cooperation. I will not go and kick someone out, just go to the dance floor. Now it happens sometimes, because I treat you guys as, as humans who are tired, and it really also depends on you how much you want to engage, right?
Right. But you see, Anya, I think that it has to come from, again, this understanding and this communication between two people. Because honestly, even when I was like just somebody that would go to a congress, like, do you really want your artists to be there forced to dance with you?
No.
Like, do you really want to dance with somebody who's not having fun, who's exhausted, who like, I think that we have to normalize the fact that we are people, right? And like, if you don't feel like going out to dance, you don't go out to dance. That's not without saying that me as an artist, I understand that maybe somebody wanted to meet me for a long time and they came to El Sol just to dance with me. I understand that, and I don't take that lightly. I understand that responsibility, and I understand that I want to show up because of people who support me and who love me and who give me likes and join my online classes and who come to the event, right? I don't take that lightly, and I understand that, and I want to be there for you, but you have to give me also this understanding that I can't be 100% in everything all the time. Because if I go and I social dance all night, but then I make it late to my workshop, they're not going to take it. They're going to be like, this bitch was partying all night and then she came late to her workshop. Right? Like, it's so hard to do it all, especially when you've been in the industry for many years and you travel, right? If I travel from here to Boston, well, maybe I'll have a little bit more energy at the social. But if I'm traveling 18 hours, maybe for me to be able to give you an amazing show that I've worked on and that I've been training for weeks or months and give you great workshops, that means that something has to give. Right? And not just automatically assuming that if a person is not at a social, it's because they're assholes, or it's because they don't want to be with you, or because they don't want to hang out with you, or like whatever you're thinking. And just maybe, like I said, not make those assumptions so quickly about a person, about a dancer, and give and take. I'm there for a little bit because I know people want to see me and dance with me and take a picture, and I want to do the same. But when I'm feeling already tired and annoyed, and I'm not going to be happy because I'm tired, then I leave. And that's okay too, right? It's giving and taking. We have to learn to do this in society and not just make assumptions so quickly about people, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I always find it surprising, and right now with the bachata popularity and certain stars, you have lines of people that queue up to dance with a dancer for 30 seconds.
Right.
And the dancer is really like, I understand where it comes from, that he only dances 30 seconds because there is so much, right? He would never get off the dance floor. But I mean, what kind of a pleasure in the dance you're going to get?
No connection.
If you're in the line for 30 seconds of a dance, I mean, I guess it makes sense if you look at it like like a rock star, and you want to touch, you're a fan and you just want to touch that person, right? So if you think this way, not as a common experience of a social dance, sharing energy.
Yeah, Anya, but you can't touch a rock star. If it's really a rock star, you can't go fucking touch the rock star. you know? So I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, we're forgetting the point. We do this because we love it, because we have fun, because we're connecting. right? If a person is not feeling it, there's going to be no connection, there's going to be no fun. So why do you want to dance with a person whose feet hurt so badly and she's exhausted and she's not smiling? Because if I do it and I stay there till 4 in the morning and I'm not having fun, I'm not smiling, I'm going to get criticized for not smiling. There's always going to be something. So at some point you have to just give, and you have to just you have to, like I said, this educate, right? And be like, listen, sometimes I'm tired. It's nothing personal. Give me a break, right? And we talk and we have the discussion, and then everything just works better.
Yeah. Thank you, Karel. You're amazing to talk to. I think I've run out of questions. Is there anything you would like to add? We should do this every 2 years because you have so many new reflections to share, and so do I. That it becomes really interesting, and we definitely have to do this regularly, but not too often because then it's. How do you feel? Yeah. Anything else?
I love El Sol, and I think that I'm very thankful for, like, you've always given me opportunities, you've always believed in me, and it's a huge platform, and I know you're a businesswoman and it's hard to keep it, and you have an amazing team. So I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate that that you take the technique seriously and like these talks seriously, and you give the platform to a lot of us to have these conversations or to expose our talents. Like, that has to be recognized as well, and I'm happy that you gave me the platform that we can chat, and like I can expose my things and people can comment and we can have these conversations that I know will only make me better from listening and from talking, and will make us better, to just have these interactions. So thank you so much for having me, and for everybody who's here for listening and giving
You
me your
guys
2 cents.
come back to this. Karel is amazing. So much to share, so much to think. So yeah, we're gonna see each other in November in Poland, a Soul Festival.
Yes,
And
I can't wait.
the last time in Warsaw. Next year we're gonna move to another city, but that's for next year. This year, Warsaw.
Yes, it's
Thank
going to be
you.
amazing. There's changes in El Sol, but we're going to make them work. We're going to make it happen. We're going to go and be happy. And I'm going to be there with Bruno, teaching amazing stuff. And I'm going to be doing that intensive boot camp. You don't want to miss it, because a lot of technical things that are so important for your development as a dancer, they're going to be exposed there. So,
oh, let me just say that what I think is very valuable, in Europe, in our own sauce here during the pandemic, we were kind of, there's a lot of Afrofusion, because that's what Italy is all about. They have a lot of
right.
African dancers, and it's not, I mean, I try to learn and develop my body, but it's not my style. I really love, because they come from ballet, and I like the elegance, and I like the spins, and I always loved your style. I could express myself in your technique. So I so miss it. And I think there are more dancers like myself that really just love this kind of challenge, the changes of directions, changes of dynamics. I want that, and I'm so excited about you coming
I'm so
here
excited.
with
And
this.
everybody should come. Everybody should come to El Sol, because it's absolutely one of my favorite events, no doubt, because of the quality, because of the energy of the people, because Anya has been working on this with her team for such a long time. They treat us amazingly. So come to El Sol. This is not a sponsored ad. It's real. I'm telling you. Come.
Guys, you can be, I know that some people are confused, so let me just say one more time. Parties, all dance floors are in one venue. All 4 dance floors, salsa, Cuban salsa, kizomba, and bachata, are in the Airport Okenche Hotel, but the workshops are spread out through different hotels. You're going to find that information on the website. Party is all in one.
It's going to be amazing. I'll see you, Anya. So thank you, Anya, so much for having me for this conversation. Everybody who joined, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Guys.
And we'll be in touch.
Let me finish here on Instagram. Okay, and we
Bye,